Hey again. So back on the horn here and back on the little phone camera. And today I was like, I was thinking about what I should talk about. There's a little bit more premeditation this time. Is like, well, there was like a something that happened at work today where like I was just kind of reflecting on like people's communication styles and like a sort of like a gender divide when it comes to that as well, and just how I don't know, just the ways that like we fucking miscommunicate, how extremely common this is, like how like sad and unfortunate. It's like people leave like interactions feeling like dejected, like they want to fucking kill themselves, like they want to like kill the other people. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's just so much negativity that can come out of just like something that ought, could be, ought to be, whatever, a rich exchange where like something is collaboratively solved together or whatever, and just how common that is. And there's just so many different like aspects to a conversation, like a live conversation. And so many assumptions that go into that that are just not true, like in the, as it turns out, like we're each like individual people and we each have our own, so to speak, like individual cultures. Oh shit. Okay. Just checking if I have time to talk like this on my phone. It's like we each kind of bring our own little, life experiences and values and cultural heritage and gender stuff and like all of our fucking trauma experiences of like being ignored, shut down, like fucking like not validated, like over validated, like like being the favorite, being the least favorite, being like raising your hand all the time at school because your teachers liked you, or being terrified to do that because you're like extremely shy, and like you couldn't even do that for like all your life, like me. And I mean, just that's just the the scratching the surface of the whole situation, right? And then there's just like just the like different abilities, you know what I'm saying? Like it's like for years I wasn't really able to like participate really like in a live conversation, like not really, like especially, I mean particularly and maybe mostly with like new people or people that I wasn't like very familiar with, or like people at work, or like older people, or whatever, all these people that I felt that like weren't on my same level. I was like, oh, I don't know if I can really talk to them, and like whatever, from being shy, and from being like just whatever, like having a weird brain and stuff. And so it's just like, it's like I would like think of like things to say after the conversation. Like I'm still like this, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't always say what I want to say like in the moment, or I get like scared or whatever, my brain goes blank and stuff like that. Like I still experience this kind of stuff, but just like drastically less than I used to. And it's just like it can be so disabling, like when you like have every intention of participating, say in a work meeting or something, especially at work. I feel like workplace stuff is just laden with like so much just like it's a big ass learning curve for a lot of people. I mean, I would say even for most people to like understand how to behave in a, you know, white collar workforce, you know? And I mean, and a lot of people are like raised to do this because they're from America and their parents have worked that way their whole life, so they're like more trained. You know, I'm also like from an immigrant background, so, and my parents were teachers, so it's like kind of a different type of job, you know, than like being an office worker. I didn't really have that training, like, oh god, that's so loud. You know, anyway, it's like I like came into the situation feral, you know? But anyway, this isn't about me. I won't go into my you know, years of not being able to fit into the office, which is true. But in any case. So anyway, today we were like, you know, trying to discuss certain, like, I won't go into details just in case, like, people are watching this. But, like, you know, we were trying to kind of, like, sort out some details of a complicated, of a, like, multi-part, like, project that involves various people, you know, and so we were, like, working it out with, like, my small team, and we were, like, you know, considering making some decisions about something and stuff, and, like, one of my coworkers was, like, felt like that, you know, some of the guys in the group were, like, not listening to her. And then she was complaining, like, oh, but they're listening to you, like, me, and stuff like that. And it's just, like, I had so much to say to her in that moment. Like, and it's, like, it's so difficult to address this kind of stuff because it's just, like, first of all, like, you know, it isn't all her fault. And it isn't all their fault. But it is partially her fault. This is coming from me. And it is partially their fault, too. You know what I'm saying? Like, both are true. And stuff, and it's like, why do these particular people listen to me? I mean, many reasons, and they don't always listen to me. And even during that interaction, I didn't feel like so listened to, like, the whole time either. You know what I'm saying? So it's like appearances can be deceiving, you know, and like everyone also has their own perception. I mean, that's the other, like, wild part, and like the whole X factor or whatever, so to speak, just like the mystery factor of this you know, subject matter of like interacting with others, especially in a group and stuff, is that everyone has their own perceptions of what's going on, you know? And it's like, I can't, like, as much as, like, I, for example, like, didn't have any cruel intentions saying this, it's like that other person insists that I did, and maybe I did, and I'm not even aware of it, right? And it's fucking complicated. Anyway, I'll just say, there's a lot to be said, but partially, somewhat to say, is that, like, you know, just, you know, this isn't even to toot my own horn, but just to say, like, why is it that I'm being so listened to, right? And I mean, it's really because, in this case, I'm just going to attribute part of it to the fact of, like, these men, like, I have engaged very closely with them to solve problems in the past. Like, I know what it takes to, like, because of knowing them individually, like, what it takes to kind of get through to them, right? It's almost like every single human has this kind of crust around their mind. You could think about it that way, of like, some people's crust is thinner than others, and these two boys, like, happen to have, like, a kind of a crustier crust. And it's like, with crustier crust people, it's like you have to, like, do a song and dance about your fucking ideas sometimes, because they don't get a lot of shit. They don't get it, you know, and it's not because they're stupid, it's just because they're crustier. And like, and sorry, looking inside. And like, you know, and they just need more of they need to be clonked on the head with your idea, like, you know, like. And I mean, it's difficult for a sensitive person. I mean, we are all sensitive people with so much love to give, you know what I'm saying? But I'm saying the thinner crust people could be deemed sensitive, right? And the thicker crust people is less sensitive. And that doesn't, and I'm saying in a sensory way. You know what I'm saying? It's just that some people are more easily influenced by life than other people, by their environment, say. And that is what I'm defining as a fundamental sensitivity. So then it becomes like really a challenge for the more sensitive, thinner crust people to communicate then with the thicker crust people, because like from sensitive to sensitive, it's like you don't have to like do all that to like get your point across. You just be like blah blah blah, like whatever, like be low key. And they're like, okay, I feel you, like, okay. But like thicker crust, it's almost like a different culture, right? It's like these thicker crust people, they're used to like clonking each other on the head with their points all day because they have a higher threshold for sensory stuff, you know? And so for them, it's not clonking. For them, it's normal, right? And so, but like for us, it's clonking, you know? And it does take extra effort, and you even have to know to do that in the first place, and a lot of sensitive people don't know to do that, and you know that is what I sort of account for my being listened to, or that's what I attribute my being listened to more, perhaps, you know, to the extent that I was, which I don't feel it was like extraordinarily so, but anyway. And it's taken years of practice. Frankly. It's not like I was like, oh, I like making these realizations and then being like, oh, now I can execute this perfectly. Like, yeah, like, you know, I mean, there was a lot, like, I was for years, like, trapped inside of myself, so to speak. I was very inhibited, you know, in a lot of ways. And so, like, I feel like after I won't say that this is a gift per se. It's more just like, you know, like I just feel like I'm just have a better ability to access my own power due to long-term like work of self-acceptance and understanding why it was that I was so inhibited and stuff like that, and then slowly sort of being able to let it go and stuff, and like own myself more, and like truly understand that I am equivalent to everybody else. You know, that's another factor of this whole thing, is like how you feel about yourself. Like if you don't really feel that good about yourself, like how the fuck are you going to get in there and tangle with somebody else who's like perfectly at home with like everything that comes out of their mouth? You know, it's a losing battle in that case, right? Because if you're just like, well, here's my idea, and I don't know, whatever, it could be good, could be bad, what do you think? You know, and this isn't to fault anyone or to make fun of anyone, but just to demo. It's like the other person's gonna be like, yeah, that's what I thought, like I was right, fuck you. You know, and like it's sad but true. It's like puts you at a disadvantage, you know, when you are even if you are convicted, if you appear less convicted. And like I said, it's nobody's fault. It's like a lot of us grew up with, you know, faulty, so to speak, programming, or we were made to be like really small and like really like silent by these shitty families, basically, who weren't really interested in nurturing our power, because that's inconvenient for them and it's not cute for them, or like whatever. They're just not into that. they're not into you being all that you can be, and like being, you know, constantly annoying and challenging or whatever, however the fuck they would see that. And whatever. Anyways, and my last point is that in general, I do feel this, that in general in the male population, there's more like thicker crusts than in the female population. Of course there's sensitive men, And you know, it's said, like, the people who research this, if you really want to look into the research, it's called sensory sensitivity, something, you know, aka highly sensitive people. There is science behind it. Apparently, like 20% of every population of creatures on the planet is like the more sensitive type, you know, so that's fish, us, you know, birds, whatever, every species. So there's always just like, you know, that little chunk of the population who's just gonna like be more in tune with the environment and whatever. But I do feel in my heart that there are more women who are in that category of sensitives, maybe just slightly more. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to say like, oh, we're all the sensitives, but I do feel the proportions a bit more in the female population. So, and you know, with the addendum of in the male population, there are sensitives that are like firmly never going to realize that they are, because it's so, you know, quote unquote on masculine, that they're like forever separated from their true nature, which is really sad and can cause really big problems, spiritual problems. Anyway, this has been me.